We're only a couple weeks away from the Oscar nominations coming out. I'm gonna go ahead and give my final predictions on what films will end up being nominated. I'm not going to go through every single award, the video would end up being like a million hours long, but instead I'm gonna go through the bigger awards. Not more important because they're all equally important, but the bigger ones. I'll put up all the categories I'll be talking about on the screen right now. With that being said, let's start out with my predictions on Best Animated Feature. Personally, I think this year for animation has been fairly weak, but as it's looking, I think these three will end up being nominated for sure. Toy Story 4, Frozen 2, and How to Train Your Dragon 3 are all locks. 4 and 5 are the ones that could go either way. Maybe Abominable sneaks in there, or even Claws could get a nomination too. But you can definitely count on the top 3 making their way to a nomination. 4 and 5 though, they could go either way. Editing is a tricky one. On one hand, the winner of the film editing Oscar not always, but tends to have a higher chance at winning Best Picture. So I have to take that into account when coming up with the nominees. The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite I think will end up finding their way to a nomination, as those are some heavy hitters to win the Best Picture award as of now. So that leaves 2 spots open. Ford v Ferrari has incredible editing, probably the best of the year in my opinion, but it seems to be losing steam in terms of the Best Picture category. So I'm not sure if it'll find its way to a nomination, even though it definitely should. 1917 from what I'm hearing is incredible, but will the illusion of the film looking like one shot make Oscar voters believe that since there's only a few cuts, the editing wasn't impressive? There's a lot of weird stuff going on here, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that Ford v Ferrari, despite losing traction for Best Picture, will still get a nomination here. And I'm going to be ballsy and say that Joker will get a nomination over 1917. This has Roger Deakins' name all over it. 1917 will undoubtedly win this one. But as for the other films that get nominated, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Irishman will make the cut since those films are powerhouses right now in the award scene. The Lighthouse's cinematography is one of the best aspects of that film. And even though it's not doing the greatest in other categories, I think the Academy will still recognize this film as the cinematography is very noticeable and serves the story well. We only have 1 spot left to fill. And in my opinion, it's going to be between Parasite and Joker. I'm trying not to let my bias show, but I think Joker will barely edge out Parasite for that nomination. But it's a coin toss really, and I wouldn't be upset at all if Parasite gets the nomination. You can't talk about original screenplay without Marriage Story or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They're definitely locks in this category. Parasite will also get a nomination here too, and I think The Farewell will finally get a little bit of love with the Academy here too. The final film to get a nomination will probably be Knives Out. This was definitely one of the easier categories to make a prediction for. The Irishman and Jojo Rabbit are locks to get a nomination here. Little Women should be getting a nomination too, but I wouldn't say it's a complete lock like The Irishman and Jojo Rabbit. I predict Joker will take the number 4 spot and The Two Popes for number 5 to round off this list. The Two Popes and Joker might get swapped out for other films, maybe A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood sneaks in there, but as of now, this is my final prediction. The top 4 for supporting actor in my opinion are all locks. I only believe that number 5 is up for debate. My heart says that Willem Dafoe will get a nomination, and he deserves it. But The Lighthouse has been getting shut out so much at the early award shows that unfortunately I don't see it happening anymore. Jamie Foxx did just get a nomination for Just Mercy at SAG, so he could definitely sneak in there, but I'm going to make a wild guess that Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes will land in that number 5 spot. A much harder list to put together than the supporting actor one. Laura Dern, Jennifer Lopez, and Margot Robbie I predict will be getting nominations. 4 and 5 are where it gets tricky. Bombshell was huge at SAG, which is a pretty good indicator for the Oscar nominations. Then again, Scarlett Johansson has been getting nominated for Jojo Rabbit as well, but I just don't see this being likely for the Academy because that means that Scarlett Johansson will be awarded 2 nominations for 2 different movies. This is tough. I'm gonna have to predict that Florence Pugh and Nicole Kidman will round out this list. This is a category I am not so sure about. This could also go a few ways as well. Joaquin Phoenix and Adam Driver will be nominated, without a doubt, but everything else is still game. At the award shows so far, Joaquin Phoenix and Adam Driver are the only two to be consistently nominated for this category. 3, 4, and 5 are all up in the air. I do think Leonardo DiCaprio will get a nomination here, and Antonio Banderas is another likely actor to get a nomination as well. I would have said Robert De Niro a couple weeks ago, but he has been shut out consistently, which in my opinion is very upsetting, as I personally would have made the argument that he could have won the award. Christian Bale has been getting a ton of love for Ford v Ferrari, so I believe that the number 5 spot is between Robert De Niro and Christian Bale. But something tells me that Robert De Niro is still going to land a nomination. He's a Hollywood legend, and even if the other award shows don't nominate him, I think the Academy still will, especially with the love The Irishman has been getting from every other award show. Renee Zellweger, Scarlett Johansson, and Charlize Theron will all be getting nominations for sure. As for 4 and 5, it could go anywhere. Lupita Nyong'o has been getting love for her performance in Us, which is great that people are still recognizing her for a film that came out at the beginning of this year. That's gotta mean something if voters still remember the movie and are nominating her. Saoirse Ronan is also getting some buzz for Little Women, and Awkwafina could get a nomination too. This is a hard one, but I think that Saoirse Ronan and Lupita Nyong'o will round out this category. 3 spots are definitely locks here. Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, and Bong Joon-ho. They will absolutely be getting a nomination, and if they don't, it'll be a big upset. Hell, I'd even say Sam Mendes is probably a lock at this point too for 1917, which leaves only 1 spot in a year where you could easily nominate 10 directors. I think the directors in the running for that spot are Greta Gerwig, Todd Phillips, and Noah Baumbach. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that Todd Phillips will get that nomination. I have a gut feeling about this one. There always seems to be one director that gets a nomination that no one saw coming. Remember when Paul Thomas Anderson got a nomination for Phantom Thread? Who could have predicted that? Todd Phillips will be that guy this year. At least I hope he is. This category does not get any easier to predict. Let's get the easy ones out of the way first. The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite, and Marriage Story. I think it's a safe bet that those will be nominated. The love for 1917 is insane, and will likely get a nomination too. Jojo Rabbit is still getting tons of praise, and should be recognized in this category as well. That's 6 already, and there's up to 10 that could be nominated, but I'm gonna predict that there's gonna be 9 films nominated this year. Don't ask how I came up with that prediction, it's just a random guess. I still think Joker is running strong this late into the award season and will land a nomination as well. That leaves only 2 spots left. Even though Little Women hasn't been getting that much attention at the awards shows, I think it'll pick up in the coming weeks and will land a nomination as well. Only 1 spot left, and so many amazing films that I would nominate personally. But I think that Ford v Ferrari will take that last and final Best Picture nomination, rounding out this year's list of 9 Best Picture nominated films. Man, this was not easy to do, but I do love the awards season so much and I have a blast doing this. Let me know down below what your predictions are. Link to my Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd are listed in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching.